Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to your reading. Thank you for your patience. So let's go ahead and just make sure the sound is good. Test speaker. Check, 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 check. Okay. Very good, very good. Let's turn the timer on. And let's pull the chart up that I chose. Where is it though? I need to delete that. Okay, I think it was this one, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, so I need to delete the name. Okay. All right. Let's turn my camera off for a little bit so I can sit like this. Not that I couldn't do that with camera on, but feels a little bit weird, awkward. You know what I mean? Okay. Video. Let's go over here. So, what do we have here? Well, what is clear is that we have a Gemini sun with moon in the sign, the beautiful sign, actually. I can say so, of Aries. And what's interesting is I think every single reading besides one tonight I've done has had an Aries moon. This is my 5th reading. And I swear every single one has been an Aries moon besides maybe one. Like, it's actually wild. So, anyways, Gemini Aries, what a duo. What a duo. So, the sun and the moon are, oh, I forgot to check. I did check. I just like to triple, quadruple, kamukel, labukel check. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I thought. Okay. So, yeah, just an interesting chart. A lot to talk about today. So, first of all, you know, with your Leo rising, same rising as me. We have the exact same rising, exact same degree, and just about the same whatever it's called, minute, same minute. So that's very interesting. 20-degree Leo rising gang, and that means that you have Regulus rising. So you have the star of the princes of the of royalty rising. So that's amazing. I'm sure you have a very regal look to you. Now I don't come across so many Regulus rising, but when I do, I tell them the deepest wisdom I've learned about this. So just so you know, Regulus is a fixed star. It's one of the four royal Babylonian stars. Royal four royal Babylonian stars. Each one's related to a different Archmichael or Archangel. So yeah, it's very important, and a lot of famous people have very powerful people in the world, very popular, like world famous people have Regulus rising. Mr. Trump is one of them. Several U.S. presidents, all kinds of celebrities. It's just, yeah. But the big wisdom I've learned about it is to never get revenge. Take that for as much as you want, but just know that when you're Regulus rising, you shine very bright, and you've got that Leo rising too, and that Black Moon Lilith, which could create some jealousy. So yeah, it's just really important to to just not get revenge when people do messed up shit, basically. So yeah, let's see. All right, so how about this? What's the relationship between a Gemini sun in the 11th house and an Aries moon in the ninth house? It's the yin and yang to the you. So basically they're two signs away, so that means that they sextile, so they get along very well. And both of them are very active masculine energies. So yeah, they understand each other, and they do good stuff together. Um, Aries, of course, is the first sign, the sign of action. And Aries moon is typically very assertive, um, not afraid of anything. Sometimes they have to kind of watch themselves a little bit in terms of just like impulsivity. So yeah, that's just important. Now, hmm, now Gemini. So why it works so well with an Aries moon is that Aries moon as a moon sign represents like what we absolutely need, right? So what we absolutely need as an Aries moon is action, independence, you know? So things of that nature. So what happens is that clearly they, they're a great team. I always say that your sun, your moon, it's like you are a ship, you are a boat, and there's two captains, each have a steering wheel, one's sun, one's moon, and you decide, like, or not you, like, based on the relationship between those two planets, if it's going to be a smooth sailing operation, or you know, one's going to want to go right, one's going to want to go left, right? So yeah. So Gemini, Gemini suns. I don't go into sun signs here on Jessiness astrology. Astrology. I don't really go into sun signs. However, I will say that um, you know, there is a reason karmically in my belief system that we incarnate is different sun signs. And I think that it has a lot to do with our, with our past life and with the energy that we're really, really trying to, you know, either show or grow towards, show or grow, right? So with that said, I think that, with your North Node in Virgo conjunct Saturn, now that's very interesting. I haven't seen much of that. Um, Fascinating, actually, because with your South Node, right, which is like over here, this is your South Node, which is your past life tendency, right? It is in Pisces in the eighth house of Scorpio, while your North Node is in Virgo conjunct Saturn in the second house, the house of Taurus. So hold on one second. So, anyways, the meaning of that is, or the deeper meaning per se, is related to the fact that karmically in past lives, you've been someone who, let's just say, was very much in the spiritual world, right? Um, Now, very much in the spiritual world for sure. But the one thing I'll say about, oh, I just opened a drink and it's all frozen. My fridge is like freezing everything. So annoying, my mini fridge. But anyways, when I look at this, I think dreams that never came true. I think of a brilliant soul, right? I think of a ingenious soul, and this isn't any ego towards me, what I'm about to say, but I have come to the conclusion that the clients that I track 90% of the time for my readings tend to be extremely powerful people. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying anything about me, but I think that there's some energy where, I mean, I'm not making any comment on any other astrologer. I'm just saying for me. Maybe it's because I do put out a very, you know, like I don't think when people book a reading with me, they're just like expecting to hear like, oh, you're the best person ever. You are perfect. There's nothing, no problems, no bad karma. You are the best. You are number one. There's nothing you can do more. You might as well just retire and just stop even trying because, yeah. So even if I thought that, that's just not how life is. Like you wouldn't be here. So, um, anyways, not that I shit on people, but I just keep it real. So I think that it's very interesting because I have a lot of these readings that go very counter to this. But with your North Node, right, which is like the mountain never climbed in past lives, where you're trying to get to in this life, the energy is very, very, very linked with um what's the word? With materialism. So, and I don't mean that in the sense that, oh, you're supposed to be a materialistic person, but there's a level like I'll give you an example of a kind of type of past life story I could see, right? Okay. So maybe let's say let's just say like it's today's world, right? Just for make it easier. So imagine someone who is super creative, has all these amazing ideas, right? Um, like let's say they're in the movie business or they're in that like that's their thing, right? So, it could be the case of someone who just um just couldn't kind of get it together in that sense, right? Like they had all the best ideas, but when it came to like actually, making something out of it, that's when the struggle came. Um, or someone who, had all these ideas of how to change the world, but then when it came to, you know, really getting down to it, that's when the problems were. So, when you have Saturn on your North Node, you can be sure, and your North Node is in a sign like Virgo, like a very perfectionist sign, right? A sign that's really saying like, you need to crack down and make sure that the things you're doing, like it's not about just having these lofty ideals. It's about really, putting them into real work, discipline, finding that routine that just works for you, right? So that's kind of what I'm getting out of this right now. Um, with that aside, I think that when Saturn is on the North Node, I feel like even regardless of what I just said, you're here to like there's a lot of very distinct type of karma that you're here to really come head and toe to come head and toe with. And you know, I think that you have past life mystical powers. And as I said before, I just don't think that, execution was there. So now in this lifetime, you see how everything kind of is relative. You're given, or you chose, or whatever, however it works, who knows, the moon sign Aries, a very action oriented moon sign. And you're a Gemini, a very action oriented, very curious air sign, right? So it's captivating. It's interesting how all these things align, right? 1 second, I got something stuck in my couch. God damn it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. So, yeah, that's kind of like the journey right there. Is it's not about letting go of the spiritual essence that is you, but it's about doing it, and it's not doing it. It's about moving towards a life where you can hold true to all of your talents, um but you're here honestly, like I wouldn't even be surprised, like this is the kind of chart of someone who is literally meant for material success in this world. Um, and if it's not that, um, meant for another like there's so many alternatives to the past life story, right? So a different one is, you know, super I have no doubt that there's like this major talent, right? Like that I'm not even like doubting. But it could have been a case like where you um where you just didn't have like the Virgo organization and health and balance, right? Because Virgo is all about legitimacy, balance, go to bed at this hour, eat these foods, work out these days, consistency. And, you know, people like myself who lack air in their charts, it's very hard to be consistent, right? So I think that that's like a big time, like North Node in Virgo is really, it's like, for some people, just having, just having a diet, a good diet, it is, it's just whatever, it's not a big thing. But for a Virgo North Node, like there's like a massive spiritual dimension to that, right? It's just completely a different thing. So I don't know. I find that very interesting. So there's no squares to the nodes, so that's usually what I look at for the karmic skip steps, but I don't see any. Um, hmm, hmm. See here. So Black Moon Lilith and Leo rising. That's not something you see every day. Um, so Black Moon Lilith rising. Wow. Um, so as a Leo rising, obviously we can be a little bit rambunctious at times, good-hearted. Um, but the way you have it with with the way that it complements your Aries sun and also the Gemini, right? Like your big three are all in like a really, like all three of them are in strong relationship to each other, right? Your sun, moon, and ascendant. You know, they're all masculine energies. There's two fire and then there's one sextile. That if you actually think about it, think of Aries, right? What's two signs, which is a sextile, two signs after each other, it's like a good relationship. What's two signs after Aries? Gemini. And then what's two signs after Gemini? Leo. Um, so what that's called a mini grand trine that you have elementally, of course, not by angle between your big three. So that means that your big three is going in the same direction. They're, you know, they are BFFs. So that's great. Um, and it just kind of adds to that boat metaphor, right? So the Leo rising is with Black Moon Lilith, as I said. And that just kind of, makes it even more makes this kind of like idea of like that. It's so crazy how much Leo energy I've talked about today. It's insane. Like every single reading has been like heavy, Aries, heavy Leo. But anyways, so with this, it's just very important to understand the difference between high and low vibe Leo, right? Because this could have been something that you struggle with at different parts of your life, right? Because Black and Leo, there's a deep fear, right? There's a deep fear of not being loved, of not being worthy. And basically when you have it rising, it just becomes like so there's different ways to think about it, right? One way is like you having mad witch vibes, um, and kind of like being someone who kind of just by your appearance and your existence, your being, you sort of have this very, this mystique, this mysteriousness and this kind of very, I don't know, this very, I don't know other word, and like what other words besides witchy, just witchy energy, right? A woman not to be messed with. Um, so like my only warning would be like just when I see that, like obviously my first gut instinct is like, you know, you got to watch your ego, right? And I'm not making a claim of you having an ego or anything like that. What I'm saying is, the we all know what that the low energy of Leo is, um being full of people, Leo's being full of himself. So that's kind of it, right? It's just important to uh to bring other people up, right? As opposed to bring yourself up. No, I mean nothing wrong with bringing yourself up, but you get what I'm saying. So let's see here. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. Yeah, so I just think with high and low vibe Leo, like as long as you're making other people laugh, as long as you're making, like in your inner child, like one way Leo risings can really inspire other people is through their gregariousness, through their ability to just like be impassioned, just become super passionate about something, like just boom, like out of nowhere, Um, you're ruled by the sun, right? So it makes it so your sun sign is very, very important. Your sun house, very, very important. And as a matter of fact, the fact that it's in the 11th house is quite interesting. Um, because the 11th house is the house of Aquarius, and it's the house of, let's just say, humanitarianism, the house of friends, groups, people. So when I see a spiritual person that has um 11th house energy, 11th house sun, whatever it might be, I always think, okay, this person is meant to be a part of this new world, this new world that's going to form after this current one. Probably, who knows what happens, but it's not looking good these days. Um, so it brings up the idea of soul fam. But one thing with going back to like the Leo rising, right? Um, yeah, it's just so important to be, to allow that fixed energy, that part of you that's so fixed in your service, not service, fixed in your mission, right? It's very important that when it comes to like just like everyday conversations, um, like sometimes Leo risings because they just have that shine. And I already talked about the Regulus thing with jealousy, but sometimes just because they have that shine, you know, like they can come off arrogant even when they're not at all, right? So, it's just really important. It kind of sucks because like sometimes Leo risings, I feel like they have to go like the extra mile. Not all the time, but sometimes, they have to like go the extra mile to. I mean, sometimes they're just like this, like just the nicest people, like, just so smiley and so pure. But, other times they have to go like the extra mile and to just show that they're, legit and nice and stuff. And when, Black Moon Lilith is there, it can add kind of like a dark, like the potential for that dark Leo energy. So it's really, really important, when it comes to listening, right? Listening and talking, having like the energy exchange in any area of life to be very fair. So let's see. So yeah, that's very important. Um, hmm, okay. And so yeah, the sun is close to the midheaven. So your major light, like the house placement of the sun is like where you are meant, what area of life you are really, really meant to shine, right? Especially for a Leo rising. So for you, it's career, it's 10th house, your dharma, right? So publicly, it's very, very important for you, to shine publicly. That's neat. That's neat. Um, but it's in the 11th house, but in terms of midheaven. So there's this element of uh of humanity. There's this element of doing it for, like finding a tribe of people, of like-minded people and doing it with them. Um, so I think like when we look at your ninth and 10th house, we get a lot more clues, right? Because um, once again, always going back to the north node in the second house, like you're here to really, really find internal and perhaps external resources, right? So and with Saturn, you're here to really, really learn responsibility. That's what it is. Like I think like and no, okay, not okay, you are here to learn the karmic lessons of self-reliance because there's been a karmic tendency to rely too heavily on others. And you are here to not play victim. I'm not saying that's what you've done, but to really, really own up and be your own metaphoric father. Um, so hmm, I want to write down that title because I keep right. I keep writing them down places they get deleted and I forget them. Yeah. Here learn self-reliance. And what did I say? Self-reliance and Um, responsibility. So yeah, you're here for those lessons. And Pisces, like South Node, sometimes they can be too wishy-washy, and they can just yeah, they can feel bad for themselves, and they can be a little bit weak, right? I'm not calling you that. I'm saying that like this is like a past life thing, and they can go for escapism, and escapism is can be in many different forms. It can be you know obviously in today's world there's different forms of it, but it's not like it's not never existed. It's just repression. At the end of the day, it's just repression. Um, so yeah, it's just repression. And let's see. Let's see. Ooh, it has Pluto. That sounds crazy, but sometimes I just need to like just stare at the chart and empty my mind, and it just talks to me. Hmm. My thought is okay. So it's like boot camp energy, right? Like cosmic boot camp or outdoor camp. Um, my question is why? And you know, like the eighth house, South Node, people, yeah, there's a tendency to rely too heavily on others, right? Um, Relying too heavily on others, and yeah. Then the second house, it's like something like meditation is a good example, right? Where it's like only you can go within yourself and meditate, right? Energy work, like stuff you can do to yourself, resources, right? That's what you're trying to like really like um be alone, not in a relationship sense, but like really on your own, make it, right? And that's why you're a Gemini, because you're supposed to just be very curious and just try a ton of shit and be very open-minded, so forth. So once you've arrived, once you've really like gone this North Node journey, Saturn gets better with time. So this could be literally like I never really say this much, but this could be related to wealth of some sort. Um, like a mix of external and internal resources gained. Um, hmm. And I think that the soul in this lifetime is really trying to learn the lesson of resilience, um, and of making it through tough times alone. Now, what's really interesting is that you have Moon opposite Pluto and Sun square Saturn, and those are your most important aspects. And the Moon in Aries, right, opposite Pluto is very, very, very interesting placement. Some call it the most difficult aspect in all of astrology. So why would that be? Well, the moon is our comfort zone. It's our emotions. It's the environment, the metaphoric environment in which where we live within ourselves, right? So Pluto is the underworld, and the mom also usually represents the mother. So here there can be very intense, complex feelings, right? And the extreme mood also that can cause relationship problems. And it's actually a lot of people with this. I mean, it's not like all the time, but it resembles bipolar symptoms, right? Like alternating extremes of emotions and behavior, right? There's no need to feel ashamed of this, right? It's just super strong emotions for people who you care about. Um, it's important not to let other people tell you how to feel. Um, what can happen with this, because it's an opposition, is that very sinister people can kind of appear out of the woodwork at times. And people like kind of energy vampires that try to make you feel fearful and guilty. So boundaries is extremely important, right? Extremely important, because these people will try to emotionally manipulate and control and try to like rob you of your positive energy and self-confidence, right? So this makes more sense with this now. Because imagine if you're just this very beautiful soul person, but because of that, Pisces has no boundaries, no energetic boundaries. And maybe in past life, this type of thing occurred, right? That I just talked about. So perhaps you're moving towards Saturn is literally the planet of boundaries. So North Node in Virgo, this is like the second house is very much about boundaries. So I feel like that's another key word. Hmm. So some people with this have like an overly possessive or interfering mother. If that's the case, you'll feel this even more intensely. But what happens is like, when people with this are sad, they're extremely sad. Um, you know, it can be really, really the lowest of the low. Um, so yeah, it does speak to kind of like, and then when someone's happy, they're really, really happy, right? So it's like, kind of speaks like the manic periods and depressive periods, right? Um, so yeah, it's a very difficult one. Does it mean you have bipolar or that you're bipolar? No, it's just something that's commonly seen in that. Besides that, there can be anxiety disorders, substance abuse, all kinds of stuff, right? So, people with that know if they need to see a doctor. But I've had clients who are fine who've had this. Maybe at one time they like had issues, but they yeah they stabilized. Hmm. Okay, so building strong boundaries so that you can be creative and that you can discover the world, because Leo, Gem, Aries together, and then you have all that Taurus. This is energy of someone who's meant to have a fun life, right? Someone who's meant to be passionate about what they do, who's meant to have friends, right? Friends all over the world, because ninth house moon with different philosophical ways of seeing life. Now, what can happen with an Aries moon opposite Pluto is that can be extremely volatile, as I outlined before. Um, so how, the best thing you can do is have some type of workout, spiritual, meditation, yoga, whatever it is, find what works for you and stick to it, right? I know it's easier said than done. Um, but this is, with that kind of placement, it is extremely, extremely important, right? Sorry, I just need to do one thing really quickly. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just like real tough, honestly. Like Aries moon in that kind of position, it's just very difficult, right? Um, because like if it was a different moon sign, you'd be able to, like Aries moon is the most, it's just the most like boom, boom, like very, very assertive, like just like out of nowhere, crazy shit happens type energy, right? Um, so yeah, it's kind of a rough one to have. Um, Now what I would say, um, what I would say though is that, you know, they're definitely all on the same team. They're all on the same team. There's not one force that's against the other. But the only one that might be is the Taurus. Your stellium in Taurus is very, very, prominent. So, that stellium in Taurus is comprises of Mars, Juno, Venus, Chiron, Mercury. So these are back to back to back signs. So, and they're the first three signs. And the north node is in the second house, the house of Taurus. So Taurus is obviously, this massive sign. So what is something about Taurus? Well, its highest vibration is the highest level of peace a human can ask for. It's heaven on earth. And it's pure beauty, it's Venusian beauty, and harmoniousness. So from that perspective, what else is Taurus? Or from a different perspective, what else is Taurus? So Taurus can be very stubborn, which is completely anti to everything else that we've seen so far in your chart. So Taurus, but like then we have to break down what planets there are. But before we do that, I actually want to go back to this Sun square Saturn. I didn't really touch on that because actually the Sun is also square the nodes because I use large orbs. So when your Sun is square the nodes, that is an energy of so much of your current life force. It's almost like, I don't want to call this a replay. That's not what I mean. This lifetime a replay. I don't want like that's not what I think or mean. But what I will say is that like you're continuing a journey from a different lifetime, big time in this lifetime. And yeah, like it really has echoes of the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, tons of fate. And it's really this energy where you are, not meant to follow mom or dad. You're meant to truly follow yourself. So the fact that it's, you know, the fact that, hmm, yes, man, happy birthday, baby. Okay. Yeah. So basically, Sun square Saturn, right? Um, that's usually around the father. Um, the moon square, moon opposite Pluto, one could be related to the mother, but it's always hard to tell with like, which parent is which. I've had a number of Sun square Saturns. I think this is like, I don't know. I always have this happen where I just have the same things like in one random day of doing readings, even if I you know, like let's say I have 15 readings and I do 4 and I pick them in kind of like the order that I just feel like doing them in. Not necessarily exactly chronological, like I don't know, kind of interesting that I always have the same stuff. But you know, the Sun square Saturn is just like up until for the first 3 years, it's just like so many tests that one has to overcome to get ahead in life, right? And it really affects people, kids' self-esteem, and it's usually like, the father or authority figures like that being very, very hard on the native, and it tends to lead to like over, someone the native being overly self-critical, um, judging themselves too harshly and so forth, right? And kind of reinforcing this negativity. Once other people, that's a horrible sentence. I meant to say once other people follow suit, then reinforcing this negativity. But what happens with the sun square Saturn is that it develops a certain amount of grit and toughness, right? Because any tough Saturn transits, the individual is forced to grow up very early. So, when that's the case, when that is the case, there can be some wounds around, not being able to be a child, feel like a child. But you're lucky because you have your Jupiter in Leo, which is like the ultimate child placement right here. Jupiter and Leo. Um, that's cool. That helps. And you're Leo rising, so yeah, that's the inner child energy. Um, but so many of the most successful people you can imagine have like an aspect like this, right? It gets better with age, right? So a lot of people like with this would be late bloomers. And they just become so self-disciplined and so responsible. Like, let me think of some people. Let me look it up. Square Saturn. Okay. Jason Alexander had many hardships as a youngster. He said he was always scared as a kid of getting picked on and humiliated or beaten up by bigger kids. He turned this around using comedy as a defense mechanism, leading to his great recognition. Mm. Oprah Winfrey indeed started life with many complex challenges. She was an illegitimate child and practically abandoned, raped, and abused, which has left lifelong insecurities. That's pretty sad. Salvador Dali had terrible Saturn responsibilities placed on him by his parents. He was named after his brother, who died as a baby, and his parents forced him to wear his clothes as a reminder that he would never replace his dead brother. Jesus Christ. The fuck? That is really weird. Anyways, all right, let's not think about that. Um, so yeah, it's interesting because I see a psychological split now in the chart between this very active energy, which I can show you here, your Jupiter, your ascendant, the Leo energy, um, even the Pluto, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Um, even the Neptune the fifth is very creative. Although I don't know, I wouldn't put that there. And we have to talk about this. This is super important. But yeah, most importantly, this moon and the sun, pretty damn important. So let's break down this Taurus energy, right? Because um basically, let's just put my camera back on. Okay. I guess I can share it with my face on this side. Okay, so so you got Mars and Taurus, which is like so many extremely successful people have it. But the one warning is, just in general when you make moves throughout life, and Taurus, Mars are, it's how you move, and they tend to move like very slow and steady wins the race, but they're really able to really, really meet major accomplishments over time, right? It's that perseverance. of the Taurian, of the bull. So this is about love. So okay, so you have another thing. Like so like I think everyone so far today has had Venus exactly conjunct Juno, like same degree or 1 degree off. Crazy. Oh, like four or five people, like everyone. I'm not sure. It's crazy. But anyways, so Venus in Taurus is speaking, you know, more to romance, and it's good for money also. And the fact that they're together has some romantic implications. I always think of like that as like, it can make it a little bit difficult to be satisfied with a partner. Um, be a little bit perfectionist with the partner and just expect perfection sometimes. So, um, then there's Chiron and Mercury. So Chiron is an outer planet, so it doesn't have, it speaks more of the fact that, 10th house Chiron would be more about just potential healing that needs to happen or that's needed to happen, whatever, around self-esteem and feeling like one is able to feel comfortable in their own body and that they're able to really put themselves out there fully in like in a public way. That's typically what that is. Now, then there's Mercury, which is right on the midheaven. This is very interesting because planets on the midheaven often have a lot to do with the career of that person. So Mercury obviously is about speaking, in Taurus, which is well, it's about speaking, it's about learning, it's about communicating, right? So something like sales, anything that involves networking, that involves kind of talking for a living, even writing, reporting, like there's a lot of different things, right? Um, it would just make it so that you know, it also adds like some real versatility, some real versatility. And the fact that the sun is on the midheaven also is very interesting. Now, of course, Mercury's closer, but the sun is in Gemini. So I would not be surprised if if the career was some this like yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you were someone who made a lot of money, or at least who was meant to make a lot of money. Because I never say that. Go watch like 10 random videos, and I never say that. But um I don't know. I just see a lot about money. I'm curious like if there's gonna be any wealth stars. I know you have Alcyon on your sun, but that's not really, I mean, not that I know of. So yeah, the Taurus energy versus all this very active energy, um, the Mars, the Venus, and the Mercury, um, it can make someone a little bit um held back. It can kind of like hold like it can kind of hold one back, right? Um, so while the sun and moon is trying to move forward, um, this Taurus energy can be, one thing about Taurus is that it can be very conservative and very afraid of risks, right? But what's interesting is that this Taurus energy trines this Virgo, like your North Node, right? And Chiron is the one that really, really trines your North Node, slash Saturn. So that in itself could indicate someone who is meant to be a healer as their profession. Or, just be able to use their, um, you know, ability to put people at ease through their voice. And, Jupiter Leo people can be very good working with kids. Um, they just love kids. They are kids, they tend to like kind of embody like the inner child. But yeah, as I said, I'll keep saying again, like high Leo is about pumping other people up. It's about being passionate and spreading that passion and trying to encourage other people to not always needing the spotlight for them. It's about spreading the spotlight. Like high Leo within itself is secure. They know they're the shit, you know? They know they're good. So they don't feel that need to just like, bring people down or something like that. So, all right. Um, Pluto third house, really important thing. Um, well, I guess last thing I would say about this is that, when you have like two or more different parts in your chart, like a split, you have to really like feed both mouths, you know? So Taurus, what does it want? It wants the security, right? It wants things to be, and it goes with your North Node. So it is in a respect like you are meant to kind of, there is a certain level of conservatism, right? um Playing by the rules, right? Playing by the rules is the big one because Pisces eighth house could be someone who did not play by the rules. um so yeah, playing by the rules is something that's coming up, and just like really dealing, like really, it's almost like the goal is consistency, like the more consistent and serious you can be, with of course still having fun, right? Still having fun, but like with certain things in your life, like what those are when I'm telling you right now, being consistent. That I think is like the best. Now, actually before Pluto, I want to talk about this because this is super important. Um, when you have this Uranus on the IC, it's very typical for someone to have, either want to or have moved away from home very young. Um, whether the parents are divorced or not, I'm not sure. However, people who have that, usually they had like a very volatile upbringing where you know, they just didn't necessarily feel like, grounded. They didn't necessarily feel grounded, and yeah, maybe like they just didn't feel like they had a solid home. And then what happens later in life is that they become very used to moving, it becomes something that they do, and it can become almost compulsive, like grass is always green on the other side. And on an unconscious level, like within themselves, it can be very hard for them to feel grounded and just like relaxed in one area, right? So, you know, the thing with Uranus on the IC, God, I would say that it's like giving oneself that balance between this fun life, right? Full of change, but also becoming very aware of that idea that the grass is the grass is not always green on the other side. And you can let go of amazing opportunities by having that mindset. um I know that's just like a logical kind of like you know explanation, and that it doesn't really change the kind of innate feeling, but that's typically what it's all about. um, getting an astrocartography reading, right? Where that's something I offer as well. If you're ever interested, it'd be interested because if you're living close to where you were born, um, by longitude, then that's difficult because you're on your line, you're on your or you're close to your Uranus IC line. That's tough. Um, better to live by your Venus. What would be your best line? Let me see. 1 second, sorry. My cat's what's that noise? What are you guys doing? Where's Mika? Mika, where's Mika? What was that noise? Esme? Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Anyways, so yeah. Yeah. Um, let's just go full screen. So yeah, like it just makes like a very unconventional household and home life. But also it makes someone really want to have the freedom to express their own individuality within that home, you know? Um, so, like a very free speech home. I don't know what to say. Like, um, something that's different, that's groundbreaking. Uranus is futuristic. Maybe it's a futuristic type of home, you know, something that's kind of like outside the ordinary. Okay, so with this, Pluto in the third, that is basically saying that in past lives you may have believed things that you shouldn't believe, because you didn't go and do like the groundwork investigation in this life. It's very important for you to be a researcher, to really probe deep and to go, really, really find the truth for yourself, right? To really find because like there's the Gemini, which is like the journalist that connects their information, right? And then there's the Sagittarius, which is the philosopher that puts the information that Gemini, the lower mind, found into the higher mind. And it's not lower or higher mind, it has nothing to do with like any hierarchy. It's just, that's just the terminology. Um, so basically basically Esme. Basically. Yeah, so the third house Pluto, it's definitely someone who in a past incarnation or past incarnations, they believed something or some things that that they just kind of heard and they just said, okay, I'm gonna base my life on the idea that this is true, but it wasn't true. And it led them astray. So in this life, there's this big need to like, really, really have that mode, that mind probe very, very deeply, right? It makes someone a very powerful communicator, but and there can also be power struggles with siblings. Yeah. So also just Saturn the second on its own. A lot of people with that, so this is very interesting, right? Um, I know people in my own family who are not in astrology who have this. And there's a feeling it's really difficult, right? Um, a feeling of emotional poverty, even if finances get a lot better later in life. Like usually second house Saturn, which it would be first house Saturn, by the way, like in classes. So, you know, be different. This is literally like this kind of botanical cola, but it's like all frozen. I don't know. Anyways, um, yeah. So there's definitely this feeling, right? Like so, like okay, so there's people in my family, like they grew up poor, they worked their ass off, they made tons of money, right? Or they, they did very well for themselves, right? Like my uncle in France, he like built up a bunch of houses out of nothing, right? They're like just completely ruined, and he just like, with his own two hands and maybe a tiny crew, like just completely redid them, right? And he still shops like he's gonna go broke tomorrow, and he doesn't have any kids. Like it's crazy, And my I'm not gonna say who else, um, but someone is else in my family is also the same. It's not my mom, it's not my dad, not my brother. Um, so yeah, um, like it's a sickness, right? You got someone worth like a ton of money, like a real like a lot of money, and he's like making a huge deal out of these two twin beds that haven't been replaced for like 25, 30 years. Like crazy. So with the Saturn second house, um, you know, there is that person who can really build themselves up through hard work, but there's that also like, it's like there can be lots of fears. And I feel like it's Saturn, Pluto in the second house, like both of them kind of have like an effect, but I think Saturn in the second house can be okay as long as that extreme behavior I detailed doesn't happen, But that's just about like confronting one's fears around finances, right? So yeah, just living a little. Um, so okay, Neptune in the fifth, that's an amazing placement. It just gives like a very strong artistic nature. Someone who can like when they're creating, they can create intuitively create, which is such a talent. Um, so yeah, and they can, and in terms of the children that you might have, be very, very Piscean, kind of like, very kind of artistic type, I think. My eyes are getting, I need to turn this program on to get this glare off my screen. Okay, that's better. Okay, so you lack water, right? Yeah, no personal plants in water and south node of water. So when I see that, when there's no personal plants in the sign in the element that it is the element of the south node, I think that I automatically always think that that person has mastered that element in a past life, in past lives. So for you, that'd be water, which is about compassion, empathy. Let me know like your response to this. Like you have no water plants, right? So people who lack water, they tend to be, like um just not very emotional, not very sensitive, not very intuitive, but I get the sense that that's not you at all. So you can let me know once we, or did you get a follow up? I forget. You sh If you didn't, you're welcome to add one. Well, the follow up and the current astrology. That's what everyone does. Oh, you did get one. You did get one. My bad. My bad. My bad. One, two. Okay, cool. Okay, so going back to this, so you also have a high level of spiritual protection. Um, so that really opens up the unknown realms to you, anything esoteric, anything spiritual that, the gates to the unknown are wide open to you. Jupiter would be in the 12th house in Placidus, and it also just makes you have this like very deep well of optimism when things get rough, and you can find solace in your alone time. And part of fortune and the 12th in Cancer, it's about how in you know you're able to, it's very similar. It's like when you have that deep spiritual relationship with yourself, you can really, really be in touch with the zeitgeist, and really you're at your best when you are giving back to humanity, right? Okay. So Palace you have at one, you have it in Pisces, so that's like being able to, it's like potential psychic abilities in the 8th house, super strong intuition, really able to probe into the mysteries of life. Um, so yeah, really, really creative. And like the Pisces Palace, it gives that like meditative, like the open third eye mind that can really merge with like universal laws and universal energies. Um, Also very good for art. So, okay, we're making it around. So Vertex in the 6th and Capricorn, like your doorway to higher awareness is through, there could be something related to crystals. Just saying, like you could be really like working well with crystals. Um, but really like it's through service, right? It's through service to humanity. That's how you get to that next level. Okay. So terms of love, obviously, as a Aries moon, you need independence. You need to feel like you're still, you're always doing you, you're always doing you. You're not like in a relationship already. Like, yeah, like you need to, you can't just like completely like melt into the other person. Um, So aside from that, Venus and Mars and Taurus, that wants someone who has like foundations, solid foundations. And Venus trine Taurus you have also, and Mars trine Taurus. So that really gives you this real ability to like this real like ability for a long-term relationship, and for long-term relationships, like that's a really, really good one. Um, and it makes you very dependable and stable as a partner, right? Dutiful as well, right? Um, and it's really, really good for like forming business partnerships as well, partnerships of all kinds. Um, and then like Mars trying Saturn, I didn't even talk about that. Like that just is like one of the best placements for self-discipline. And just like being a very good worker. I don't see that one very much. So also Venus and Mars are conjunct Chiron. So you know, like Venus and Chiron together can make one fear commitment and rejection. Um, especially with the moon opposite Pluto, that can really, really kind of play in with that. So, but sometimes people with that, they see the beauty in like the people that no one else see beauty in, the people that have been cast aside by others. And it can make some of the best like amazing healers, right? Venus and Chiron. But also, yeah, there's just like a theme of like learning and growing, but through pain, through difficult lessons in love throughout your life, it makes you grow to be a better, more empathetic healer. So washing machine is making weird noises. Feels weird from here because they're like soundproof. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, powerful advocate for humanity with the Mars conjunct Chiron, someone who can really like take that Mars, like that action, assertiveness, and push it in a way that makes the world a better place. So yeah, with love, back to what I was saying, like yeah, you have Juno, which is your ideal partner, Venus, your love language, in Taurus, like reliability, dependability, like all these things, they go hand in hand. So just really wanting someone very, very solid, but you are a Gemini, Aries. So it can't just be like someone who's just like all earth. Like that'd be a little bit boring for you, right? Now, and I was making a point that I didn't finish also about the water. I guess I'll just finish that really quick and go back to the love stuff. So yeah, I just think that you likely have kind of conquered this water energy with your past South Node in Pisces in the eighth house of Scorpio, right? So God in this life is probably like, all right, you know, you've kind of beat the water thing already. Like you're good. You know, you hold on. All right, so sorry, I just heard a noise. Dee. Is my microphone still working? Test, test. Was it here? Okay, I think it's good. That was bizarro. Okay, whatever. Whatevs. Whatevs. Stop doing this thing. I never touch my iPad. iPad lost. Connected. iPad. Okay. Anyways, so finishing up. So let's see. Um, yeah. So, um, with the love stuff, you definitely love the dependability, the reliability. No, someone who's really taking something serious. But then you need some fun. The Aries moon, Gemini sun, can get bored real fast, right? So it's that mix of fun and intellectual and adventure and travel and purpose and all that stuff with that real solidity of someone who feels like that person is like your person. And there's no doubt in your mind that you can rely on them, or there's no doubt in your mind if you can rely on them, or whether you can. Okay, so Vesta is interesting because it's conjunct your moon and it's in Aries. So Vesta and Aries are like they're entrepreneurs, and it's in the ninth house. So it's like through your work you want to discover the higher truths, right? Um, so and you want to learn, deepen yourself spiritually through this, right? Through this work. So it's very, very interesting. And yeah, in Aries, it's just better for you to you're more self motivated in work, right? You don't need someone telling you what to do. And you probably enjoy working by yourself. And yeah. So the fact that mm, so Vesta conjunct Moon, um, you know, it is kind of speaking to the point that it's about um some that well, it's about ritual and emotions, like craving, like you might be the kind of person that craves like some type of ritual for your emotional well-being. It's also very loyal because Vesta Moon, yeah, make a very loyal person. And someone who shows their love through their actions. Um, and nurturing yourself, and this goes back to so much in the chart with your North Node Virgo. You need to nurture yourself and others through healthy habits. Good food, regular, you um, like good food and good time spent with the family and loved ones, and just healthy habits, sunlight, you know, yoga, whatever it is, very important. The series is also um really, I don't know what's just happened over here. So Ceres and Aries in the ninth house. Um, so Ceres and Aries people, they really feel nurtured when they're given this power, when they're given this independence, when they're given this feeling of and they're very good at giving it as well. Um, but they'll definitely suffer if they ever feel like dominated or caged in relationships, right? That kind of speaks to that romantic thing again. So Ceres in the ninth house, it's like you nurture yourself by acquiring like knowledge about the world at large. Um, and whether it's through travel, study, whatever the fuck, like traveling physically or metaphorically, right? And you look after others you know, by sharing and teaching the things that you learn. Um, so yeah, it's very nice position and series, very fitting. So besides love stuff, your descendants in Aquarius. Um, which kind of adds to like the idea of of that spark, right? Of that spark and that kind of like, more kind of like just different type of relationship, individualistic. So I didn't really talk about your Mercury opposite Uranus. That's one thing I kind of left out. I'll just touch on that briefly because your Mercury, it's in Taurus, and it's opposite Uranus on the IC, and Mercury's on the midheaven, so it is actually an important one. So that one is just like Mercury opposite Uranus. Like I see tons of like very, very genius people that like kind of are get very misunderstood. Like, so many of my clients have Mercury square Uranus, Mercury in Aquarius, Mercury's opposite Uranus like you. So what happens is that you can kind of rub people the wrong way by having like views that are very I don't know what others would consider out there, but what I would consider like normal or yeah. Um, but sometimes people with this they'll like defend. They'll have the issue is if there's too much ego added to um your ideas, and it's really important to be able to separate um you know ego from ideas and beliefs because nearly no one can these days. So it's really, yeah, with this it's like it can be like difficult to sometimes understand other people's point of view. So it's really about like, respecting all forms of communication and thinking and just understanding that everyone comes to truth at their own time, you know? But yeah, the opposition I think will definitely yeah, I can just bring wait, no, I did talk about this, didn't I? If I did, well, this is my last reading tonight, even though actually I might do another one. I could do another one. Maybe I'll take a rest. I could probably do another I could probably like do another three, honestly. Yeah. We'll see. I really want to get a bunch done because I'm on a rizzle. Um anyways, yeah. So we talked about that. Okay, all of these have been talked about. Um, okay, let's pull these bad boys out. Happy birthday, Esme. Okay, so wow, look at you, second person in a row that has lust rising. Actually, not rising, but conjunct Jupiter. So lust is literally, and I have no idea what you look like. Your idea. Lust is the sexy asteroid. I've proven it many, many times, not with me, but my girlfriend has it. I know several people who have it, and it has never failed. Um, so yeah, you have Regulus rising, as I said. That's like one of the best best degrees possible. Let's see. Okay. So Regulus, I'll just tell you about what it says. I just ordered a book, but it's not gonna be here for a while. My family found it. The Regulus ascendant, great honor and wealth, but violence and trouble potentially. Um, Favor of the great victory over enemies and scandal. So, oh yeah, Elton John has it too. Trump, Woody Allen, who else? Justin Timberlake, Uma Thurman, Robbie Williams, a lot of people. Henry Ford. Yeah, it's the star of kings and queens and wealth and power. It also gives a lot of courage and frank character. And a very illustrious life. Someone who can be a real leader, has major swagger. Oh God, Nancy Pelosi has it too. What? 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 Drake is another one that has it. Join the club. Amazing. Scorsese. Okay, so yeah, it's just really good. um, you can search Regulus astrology on Google and go down to the astrologyking.com and go down to where it says ascendant conjunct Regulus. But it's really old definitions, so it's really say that much. And place also inspiration. Okay. I'm pretty sure that being born during the day with Regulus rising is better than being born at night, but don't quote me on that. I do not actually know that. I think that's what it just said. But sometimes it says things. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see here. So, okay. You could be someone who works with herbs. Zuvenal Shalami on Uranus. And let's see. You're spiritually protected. That's like really, really nice. That's Mika, stop, please. So yeah, and another indication of spiritual protection. So you can really go into this esoteric realm. Come on, Mika. And feel like you're gonna be fine. So 0109. Mm. This hmm. What is this one? Oh, let me click on it. Oh, so you have a more on, I think a more Mercury, such a beautiful thing. You can speak unconditional love just comes from your mouth. It's so beautiful. Um, it's amazing. Really, really, you have the ability to heal through your voice and really speak beautiful things into existence. Um, mhm. Okay, last one is Algol on the midheaven and Alcyon conjunct Sun. Okay, so Algol obviously it gets a bad rep. Um, but it can be very transformative. So on the midheaven, it's about the whole Medusa myth and whatnot. Um, I'm gonna read what it says here. The subject will make their name with their mystique. There's something striking about them. They're not classically appealing, so those who admire them may be drawn to them because they also identify with being the misfit or outsider. Even if these people do happen to be beautiful, they may still feel ugly. They are often mistaken for being vain, but really they are incredibly self-conscious and may feel people are constantly staring at them. Medusa's stare is projected onto others. Let's see what says here. Because like alcohol really to me has this like very like alchemical, like it can be really, really bad, but if one like kind of surrenders, it can be really, really good and be like super alchemical. And you already had Zubin al-Shalami, so okay, midheaven, honor and preferment, a splendid illustrious life, glorious, fame, busy with many activities. Okay. Mm, okay. So Alcyon, that one's not huge. Um, it's right on your sun. Is there anything on it? It just says bad eyes, potential bad eyes. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. And it's not like smack on there. It's over a degree. Um, it's in 11th house, not 7th. It says if it's in the 7th house, blindness, especially if Saturn or Mars, is with Regulus. What? If it's Mars and Venus, then it will be a potent king obeyed by many people, but subject to many infirmities. All right. Well, that's kind of how it is with these, these fixed star. I mean, with these fixed stars and asteroids, right? It's tough to tell. So, yeah. So as I said, thank you for watching. I highly recommend booking the current astrology. We will go over everything. First hour, you already have the follow-up, so I already told you about that. And yeah, so I'll give you $50 reduction for the price I already have on sale on my site. So just let me know over message, and thank you for your patience. I actually kind of low key like put you ahead of some people just because I was like, all right, I'm gonna do one or two more charts tonight. Um, I want one I really connect with, and this is definitely the one. So thank you. Ciao, ciao. Bye bye. I quit it.